Hi, this is Stu and we're at the beautiful Purple Valley again, and this time we're here with Wambui, who's Ashtanga teacher and also recent mother. So we thought we'd take the chance to ask her about her own experience of the pregnancy and her practice and how she's then got back to her practice after the pregnancy. Welcome, Wambui.
Thank you.
Hi.
Nice to be here.
So perhaps we'll ask you first of all, how you adapted your own practice in the once you knew you were pregnant and the lead up to the birth.
Yes. Okay. So I found out I was pregnant in July of 2013. It was 14 last year. Is it?
14.
Yeah. 14. And at the time this was in Hucha in Finland, and I was teaching at the month-long annual summer yoga retreat.
Yeah.
In Finland. So I took the test and found out, and I continued to practice, but I modified it right away. Yeah. So I went to the shala and I just did, some modified primary, some gentle breathing.
What sort of things did you cut out first of all?
The deep twists.
Okay.
Marichasana C's and D's, those went away quite quickly. And Kurmasana, Supta Kurmasana, those went away quite quickly as well. And I pretty much cut second as well, intermediate, any of the stuff on the belly.
And the thinking behind that is, with the deep twist, for those that are, trying to get a better understanding of the reasons behind sort of cutting out the deep twist?
Well, Guruji and Sharat, they recommend actually that you don't practice at all during the first 3 months, the first trimester, simply because the risk of miscarriage is the highest.
Right.
So you just want to make sure everything is well established with the placenta and the development of the fertilized egg in the womb. So any sort of super extreme twists might not be the most nurturing environment for this. For this new egg.
So that was so for the first, but you carried on practicing those first 3 months, and then just took that sort of thing out and scaled down your practice.
Well, and then Sharat came in August, so that was my second month, and I told him why I wouldn't be practicing with him, and I asked, what he suggested I should do, and he said, basically you should actually not practice at all and just go for walks in the morning to help alleviate the morning sickness and the nausea. I wasn't sick, but I felt a little wheezy in the stomach, so actually that felt good. So I stopped practicing the second month and walked every morning, and that felt lovely. And then I practiced again, just very gentle. He suggested, really holding Baddha Konasana and Upavishta Konasana. Those were very good.
So the wide-legged postures.
So in the end, all throughout, and then so second trimester felt great. My pregnancy was okay, no complications. I did have some anemia, so I felt quite tired a lot, so I had to take iron supplements. And so then, I just scaled down my practice to suit my changing.
Your own personal experience of it, and But
then in October of 2014, I went to teach in Copenhagen at Mysore Yoga Copenhagen. For the month there, I was running the full program, morning and evening Mysore teaching, and then my own practice. So that was very interesting.
And how far pregnant were you then?
That was about 5-6 months.
Okay.
So, and that's when you feel generally in the second trimester you feel quite steady and quite quite good and quite strong and energetic. That's sort of the peak of the pregnancy in general. And it felt quite good. It was a very cloistered life. I'd wake up, I'd go teach, I'd do a short practice of my own, go home, have lunch, take a nap, and go back to the shala and teach again and go to bed early. So
sounds like quite a nice life.
It was good. It was like a nun, a little monk. It was nice. Pregnant nun.
A pregnant nun, that would go together too well, didn't it?
So it was. But that was very interesting because you really had to. I really had to watch my energy levels and just check myself to make sure I had enough to give to the students and enough for my own practice. So in that sense, my practice really I had to scale back a bit to do the minimum I needed.
And of course, your body is changing shape and weight and center of balance is shifting and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So the sorts of things that you need to bear in mind, even with the practice that you're continuing with,
Yes.
are there special things that you need to think about?
Yeah, that's a good question. The balance started to, I really noticed that my balance shifted when I was teaching, when I was 5-6 months pregnant, when I was teaching and started to do drop backs.
Yeah.
I noticed that I really had to kind of negotiate very carefully, and some days I just be like, I tell the students, just do it yourself because I don't feel too stable.
Yeah.
And they of course understood very, very nicely. But later on, when I was in Thailand, and I was 8 months, I really noticed that the balance was, you feel like, whoa. So definitely. And then there, my practice was mostly slow Surya Namaskara.
Yeah.
And slow standing to really feel grounded and centered and just really balanced in myself. And I was doing some of these sort of therapeutic poses where you're like, I can't really show, but you're sort of stabilizing postures where you're lifting a leg like this, so you're on all fours and you're lifting a leg like that, and then you switch, those kinds of things.
So it's trying to strengthen the core
and the lower back.
Yeah.
Because what happens, and I tried to take some restorative and yin type classes, but those felt very destabilizing, and what I felt, my ligaments were really shifting so loosely out of place, and that added the sense of being very unstable and unbalanced. So I said, maybe this isn't the best thing.
Yeah.
So I really needed to kind of strengthen and just stabilize.
Stabilize rather than
pelvis.
more opening, and that would be another reason, I suppose, to avoid the really deep postures as well, because you're already
so loose, and you don't get a sense of going. You don't get the sense that this is where I should stop, because the body is just, the hormones are
and
expanding.
a lot of people suffer from low backache, don't they, during their pregnancy? Did you find that with doing those sort of back strengthening exercises and things that it helped minimize the amount of backache you got?
It helped. I didn't feel so much, now I can't remember so well, but I didn't feel a sense of backache, but just being tired, because you're carrying so much extra weight and everything is so front heavy. So just to feel like,
And we were looking, you've got that book with you at the moment, maybe we show that to the camera, because we've found that this is quite a good book which deals with pregnancy and yoga, and there's lots of stories in there. But I was looking at a picture of Joanne Darby doing a extended headstand.
Yes, an hour.
An hour headstand. When how pregnant was she?
She looks like, this is probably her 3rd trimester. I can't remember now what she said, but she was doing pretty much an hour headstand a day throughout. Right. At least for her first 2 pregnancies. Yeah. I think for her 3rd she didn't have so much time.
Did you keep up headstand?
That was when I felt like it. I did, but not every day. Yeah. I did a long supported shoulder stand, but I mean shoulder stand meaning my legs on the wall with a block underneath, and that felt great. Exactly.
Because I just imagine with a headstand that your whole center of balance has shifted completely.
Although what was interesting for me, I read, and quite a few women said that they liked to do headstand and this Pincha Mayurasana. For some women it feels good, because they said it relieved the weight off the feet. Okay. So but I didn't do any of those. I didn't feel. But the feet up the wall is great, because you do get swollen feet, or I did in the heat. Yeah. So I needed to draw the fluid down.
And I remember reading some stuff about dealing with pregnant women and massage, because that's my sort of thing. Yeah. And it was saying about avoiding side lying on the left side, if I think I'm right. So because it would be on the right side, because the inferior vena cava is coming up on the right. Was there any modifications you had to do? And it was also to avoid too much lying on the back because of the weight of the belly and that sort of stuff. So were there modifications around that sort of side of things, about getting comfortable? And did you find you couldn't do Shavasana for any period, for a very long period of time, or towards the end maybe?
I found, lying on the back, especially later on, doesn't feel good. You feel compressed. Lying on one side with the pillow in between the legs, that feels quite good. But I would say that my Shavasana was the legs up on the wall, doing this shoulder stand.
Instead, yeah, exactly.
So that was where I got the rest, and that felt really rejuvenating.
Yeah.
But yeah, lying on the back after a while, it just doesn't feel like.
And do you have your own pranayama practice or meditation practice that you?
I have I would say I like chanting as a way to sort of lead into meditation, but I don't have a separate pranayama practice established. I did do some nadi shodhana, and but no, for me it was just the moving meditation of the asana practice. Really
itself.
Going deep into the practice and going slow, and just that to me is the main meditation.
And once you'd had sesam, it is, isn't it?
Yes, sesam.
Once you'd had sesam, how long was it before you returned to your practice again?
So I would say for a sort of daily Ashtanga practice, I've managed to do it just January when we did our retreat in Thailand, and here.
Yeah. So that would be like what?
He's 10 months.
So 8 months after.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I started actually when Sesam was 3 weeks old. I went to a postnatal class 1 day a week, and that was simply just as a way to be with other mums in my position and just be a little social. And you could bring the baby and have them on a little blanket next to you. And this was just very gentle postnatal, closing the body. So and then for the rest of the year, up until we went to Thailand, I was doing some form of, when it felt right, something for the stomach and the back, and eventually just building up. I've been a stay-at-home mum, so it's just practicing. No, lots of napping as well.
Napping.
But sleep when the baby sleep, right? No, just being able to practice when Sesam is napping. So some days it's 10 minutes, some days it's 20, some days it's longer, but it's a crapshoot. So
yeah, you got to do it when you can. And so now we're like 10 months into it. You've established your practice. Are there areas that you feel? What are the areas that you feel you've lost the most from, or that you're weakest in?
Probably building up the bandhas.
The course, the bandhas.
That takes some time. That takes time.
And are you doing anything extra to try and speed up that process, or you're quite happy to take the journey slowly and let it redevelop?
I was doing before some homework poses when I had, because that's really what I had time for. So I just sort of isolated. I said, okay, let me just work on building the core strength up and getting things in the pelvic floor stable again. So that, I would say, I spent a long time, like months, just working on the extra stuff like that. Now that I'm doing my own practice, my Ashtanga practice, I don't really have time to do the extra stuff. So I just work in my practice now, the principles that I picked up from my extended research. And were there periods where that fatigue was just too much to actually practice at all? Oh yeah, today. Today. It's having a baby and being with your baby. It's very much like the practice. You get inspiration from it. It's something you love, you adore, you get energy from it, but at the same time you're giving a lot of energy, and some days you don't have so much energy for your practice, and some days your baby just really takes it out of you. So they inform one another very well.
So you need to be kind to yourself, maybe, is the answer. Cause
unconditionally. Because I'd say you're doing the best that you can on any given day, and dropping expectations and I'd say what I've really learned, a new insight that I've had through this process, is that our culture, or women, we feel like, I have to get back on track, I have to get my body back, and you want to, because you feel good, and when you're healthy in your body you feel good and you have more energy to give, but it's really giving enough time to let the body heal internally, And then the poses will come back slowly. And what I have learned is that there's no beginning and end to these postures.
Yes.
It's just one long process, unfolding process. So that really sort of shifted for me, and there's really no rush.
Yeah, and it gives you maybe another angle to view things from.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so what's the journey from here? Are there more children hopefully on the way, so you can revisit the same process and refine it?
Yeah, it's these hormones are a funny thing. Sometimes when you see a baby, it's like, yes, let's have 3, 4, but I don't know, it could be nice to have a sibling for Sesam.
Yeah.
And it could be nice also just to have time for different projects and for yourself. So that's the shift of the different energies in every person, like.
And what about your own personal practice? Do you see it evolving in a certain way now? So although you're not rushing, are you aiming to... So where are you practicing to as against where you were practicing before you were pregnant?
I'm pretty much back to where I was.
You were?
Yeah, I'm now at Pincha, Mayurasana. Karandavasana is taking time.
Yeah, that's with everybody.
Yeah. So, but I would say I really don't have an agenda when it comes to advancing in the practice. It's just interesting to me to really notice how the body and the practice are constantly shifting and changing. So I don't think I need like new asanas so much for them to make an impact, but
And do you think there's specific postures that have changed during that period at all that you've now come back to, and suddenly there's more freedom because of maybe what the way the hormones have worked, or the way your body has changed, or vice versa?
Right now I'm working on some of these, the splits.
Yeah.
So sort of the Samakonasana and the Hanumanasana, those are kind of my extra homework poses.
Yeah.
I'd say that those feel like in the pelvis some stuff has shifted.
Yes.
And so it's trying to, I don't know if it's necessarily for the better or for the worse, but you notice new information that was not there before. And it's more just dealing with, my body is working harder carrying this baby and minding him, and strange positions sometimes, so you do notice that you have to, how you hold yourself and how you carry yourself, that information is brought into the yoga shala, into the practice, and how to work with all the different ways that the baby is asking.
Yes, and also you build up certain tension patterns in your own body by carrying the baby on one hip or that sort of thing. So
that's one thing I'm very aware of. It's like my right side is more dominant, so I try to carry him more on my left side. So I'm not, and trying to stand sort of in a symmetrical way rather than with one hip out.
Yeah.
So.
And have you noticed that any of those patterns developing on into the practice that you're picking up on? Oh yeah, I spent the last few days carrying Sesam a lot, and now I'm noticing these particular postures, I'm feeling that? Yeah,
you can. Sometimes, yes. Especially with the upper back.
Yeah.
There's a lot more of what I'm carrying there.
Yeah.
So a lot of, I think, chest and heart opening could be good to
it could be good.
Counter that.
And I seem to remember something, if we're going back now to the part during the pregnancy, about not taking too long steps. So like stepping out for Trikonasana and that to shorten the stance.
Exactly.
Was that the sort of thing you did? Again, because of the whole balance reasons.
Yeah. I think it's I didn't like sort of measure I quite have long legs, but I think it's just in general, since as yogis we're quite sensitive and we pick up on signals our body is giving us. I think it's just quite could be a natural thing, like ways to sort of protect the pelvis and asymmetry of the pelvis. So but for me the standing felt okay, so I didn't need to shift too much
And I imagine as well, of course, the journey is going to be very different for somebody that's an experienced practitioner
Yes.
and somebody that has been told by their healthcare provider. I think it's probably a good idea if you do a little bit of yoga in the lead up to your pregnancy. So you're going to be approaching it from different aspects, I think.
Yes, yes, that is true.
Cool.
Yes.
Good. Well, thank you very much, Wambui, for all your help. And I think the important thing for everybody is your own experience is going to be different, and you have to go with your body. I think that's what we're saying, isn't it? And listen. And
talk with your teacher.
Yeah.
If you have a teacher that you practice with, find out his or her information, and a few trusted friends who have been through the process. But it's really, I mean, this is the thing that's so amazing about the practice, is that you learn to trust yourself and to understand yourself, and so you really can be your own source of information and
go from there. Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.